Science and technology is the I don't know, channel stream that this thing takes place in. I don't know if that's really accurate. I don't know if I'd call it science or technology. Maybe neither. It's not terribly scientific. And aside from the fact that I use a computer to broadcast, I have absolutely no technology in here. I did get a new phone. Got a Pixel 3 XL. Pretty psyched about that. It's a picture of my kid picking her nose on there. She's a good time. So I've just to kill a little time until questions come in. I see people in here, which is very exciting. Thank you for joining me. I've been writing some blog posts about my first 6 months of consulting independently, and I don't know. It was a real tearjerker. There were some emotional moments in there. I'm kidding. I replaced feelings with whiskey many decades ago. But I've been... Shut up, motorcycle. Back to your biker gang. I've been getting allergy shots for, I want to say like 3 years. At least 3 years. I'm on like the monthly maintenance shots now where like I just like they don't even make me stay for a half hour anymore. I get my shot and I hang out for like 10, 15 and just say goodbye. Whiskey with ask whiskey or bourbon. I would never drink bourbon. Bourbon is just hyped up maple syrup. I would never drink bourbon. I'm a Scotch guy. And like very specifically, I like Islay scotches. I like the stuff that tastes like burning Band-Aids. That's my jam. But I've been getting allergy shots for 3 years now, monthly maintenance. And I don't know what changed I don't know what changed in the world. I don't know what new life form showed up on planet Earth. But it's like I've never had a shot in my life for a long time. They work great. I went from having like severe like eyes running, nose constantly bubbling, gross stuff, allergies, like unable to function allergies, to like I would take maybe like an antihistamine like once a week or so, or like once every couple weeks. It was great. But man, the last week has been absolutely positively brutal. Like I've been taking stuff every day. Like every morning I wake up at like 3, 4 in the morning with just like my face in awful condition. I don't know what the hell is different this year, but man, it is bad. Oh, it's terrible. Anyway, I don't know. Someone ask a question. There are at least 6 of you here. I don't know how many more are going to come in. There are some of you. Someone has to have a SQL Server question. You can't just come here to hear me complain about things or you blab on and on about blog posts and whatnot. Someone has to have a question about SQL Server. Please, God, someone have a question. Come on, there's like 10 of you. Laura says, do you have any thoughts on replacing temp tables with in-memory OLTP? Yeah, don't. Hackathon is like herpes. It doesn't have the nerve to kill you. It just hangs around being awful for the rest of your life and flaring up at inappropriate times. So I just have not found anything compelling about Hackathon. It seems like every time, and this is not just me, this is some very smart people that I'm friends with. Every time they think that they have a specific problem with latches that Hackathon might solve, it is an absolute dead end. Absolute dead end. In SQL Server 2019, TempDB is going to use, because you can use TempDB as like an hackathon-y thing anyway. I would probably just hold out to see if that happens. But I guess the question is, why? What are you trying to fix? What is the problem that we're trying to solve here? What do you think Hackathon is going to make better in your stored procedure that you want to use in memory for? That's the big question. What's gonna get better about it? What's gonna get better? I don't know. Try to have better indexing of what on earth? You can index temp tables now. What's missing from your current temp table indexing that Hackathon is going to provide a safe and secure solution for? That's what I'm curious about. Too slow. Well, so here's the thing. What's too slow? Creating the index or populating the table? Josh says Hackathon indexes are extra confusing. Yeah, they are. So who knows how many hash buckets you should set up? Creating the index. Creating the index is too slow. Okay, fair enough. See? This is one of those things where it's like we're gonna end up going down a real rabbit hole, because I'm gonna ask you what kind of index and what kind of data types you're indexing and how many rows it is and a lot of other stuff. And this is I hope you're prepared, because this can go on for a long time. I know. Then you'd have to actually look at code. Bad news is you'd have to look at code to implement Hackathon and get it set up and running there. If creating an index is slow now on a temp table, I don't think it's going to be any faster in Hackathon. It's not free. Nothing is free. Nothing is free. Yeah, no. So Hackathon is very specifically designed to deal with locking and latching issues. The in-memory portion, I think, is the misgiving around it is that it'll make any workload faster, and that's not really true. And the use cases where I've seen Hackathon be successful is with really large scale, fast data ingestion into tables where data is not going to live for very long. So the example that I always give, because it's the example that I've seen work best, was with online gambling, where data had to come in very fast, and we cared about that data for a very short amount of time, where we wanted very fast, updates and being able to get to that data to be snappy and not get blocked up and locked. And then after like an hour or so, or whenever the betting thing is over, they get pushed out to regular on disk table. So that's the only time. It's the only time I've ever seen Hackathon be successful. For every other weird niche thing that someone's like, oh, I bet if we just did this in memory, it'd be faster. It has never worked out. Never worked out. I don't know. It's like people hear about these features and they I don't know. The pamphlets that Microsoft comes up with for these things are amazing, because they make it seem like they're going to fix every single problem that you're having. They just sound like this like Golden Acres retirement home for your data, and jeez, never seems to go. Yeah, so like with the Lars, I guess to put it as succinctly as possible, you can try it, but be very careful with the database that you try it in, because once you have created an in-memory file group in a database, one cannot drop an in-memory file group. One must drop and recreate the database. So if you're going to try it somewhere, create a new database and enable things there. Don't do it with a database you care about. So that's about all I got. Let's see. TZHX says, do you have a rule of thumb for how wide a table is too wide? Currently have a bunch of core tables in the system with 100+ columns each. Yeah, you're about there. So I think one way to phrase this really well is the maximum number of columns you can have in a table is 1,024. a really smart friend of mine, Canadian fella, has sort of a what he calls it, Michael J. Swartz 10% rule. With if you're using 10% of a maximum of a limit, right? Because these are limits, they are not goals. They are not things that you are trying to attain. They are things that they are like the capacity at which SQL Server will stop functioning. So you're right about there. And the thing that really sucks about 100-column tables is they're really difficult to index well. Unless you don't care about read speeds from them, unless you're just dumping data in there and not really doing anything with it, then it becomes really hard to index that, because people are going to they're going to want to search on weird sets of columns, and they're going to want to select weird sets of columns and potentially order by weird sets of columns, and all that adds up to is a lot of heartache and pain in trying to index those things. So when I start seeing tables like that, there are 3 patterns that I look out for very specifically. One is column names that have prefixes. So like customer name, customer number, customer address, customer, things like that, because those should all be in a table called customer. The other thing that I look out for is columns that end in numbers. So like phone 1, phone 2, phone 3, email 1, email 2, email 3. I also pay attention to those, because those should probably be in their own sort of like entity attribute value type table, like a long narrow table where you link up different entities to different attributes and different values in EAV table. It's amazing how that works out. The third thing that I look out for when I see very wide tables is clusters of missing index requests. So like a lot of the times when I've seen crazy tables like that, what's jumped out to me is that missing index requests will be very specific around which columns are in them. So like you'll have a very similar set of search columns and a very similar set of select columns. And oftentimes you can find ways to normalize that table, to break that table apart into separate tables based on what people are searching on within that table. So you might find say you find 12 missing indexes, and out of those 12, like 4 of them are selecting columns 1, 2, and 3, and the where clause is on columns 4, 5, and 6. And then another one, there's like 4 requests, and there's some sort of tanglement between columns 8, 9, and 10, and 11, 12, and 13. So like you can usually find patterns within the missing index requests and within the column names that can give you some pretty good direction in breaking. I keep saying breaking. I mean normalizing. I don't mean you're breaking the table. You're not hurting the table. You're not breaking your SQL Server. You are normalizing your data, which is a wonderful thing to do. If you want more advice, if you want a lot of really good advice on doing that, Lewis Davidson has a book called Relational SQL Server Database Design or something like that. Let me go over to Amazon and grab a link for it, because I'm probably getting the title or something wrong. I wish. Davidson SQL Server Design. It's a book that I have in my bookshelf too. It's not like I just tell people to buy these things and then screw off and let you do all the hard work. It's a book that I actually own and I've actually read. So let me stick that link in there. There you go. Wonderful. We have a link. That's beautiful. That's a good thing. And let me actually, while I'm doing that, Michael, I should spell Michael right. J Swartz 10% rule. There we go. Swartz 10% rule. So I would send this stuff over to your developer. I would get a copy of that book for your developers, and I would unless you're the developer, in which case I'm sorry for making money. But they could send them show them that book, show them that link, say maybe, hey, pal, we need to fix this. We need to do better. We need to do better and be better at our SQL Server relational database design and implementation. It's crazy. So like I'm like around the 5-year mark of consulting. I mean, obviously not independently, like just sort of generally, like general consulting. And I'm gonna say something that is very, I think is going to be annoying to a lot of people, and is your problems are not special. Your problems are very fundamental. The problems that your database is having is because you did something weird and wrong. You embraced wide tables. You did not embrace clustered indexes. You embraced scalar functions. You, did not pick a decent indexing strategy. There are so many just basic, like you chose data types really poor. Like everything is a long string for some reason, or everything is mistyped across tables. It's very often just very fundamental, easy fix things that you should have been done from the get-go, but just weren't. And it screws everything up, and it breaks my heart to come in and see the same problems over and over again, where it's just like if someone had just made a couple better decisions at the outset, you could have avoided years of problems. Let's see. Kapil asks, can a query have a long-running query on terabytes of database, 0 granted query memory? I see some on large queries and don't get why. Yes. So query memory grants. So every query gets some memory because every operator requires some memory to figure out what state it's in and what it's doing and what it's up to. So that every query gets some memory. Memory grants are very specific to a couple operations. One of them is sorts, right? So if you sort data, you're going to require a memory grant to do that. If you hash data, whether it's a hash match aggregate or a hash join, you're going to require memory to do that. And if your query if your query goes parallel, you'll require a little extra memory to manage the exchange, the parallel exchanges, the buffers in the parallel exchanges. So there are three things that in a nutshell require memory. There are some less frequent things like optimized nested loops join, which also will ask for a memory grant. And there's doing inserts to column store will also ask for a memory grant. But it's entirely possible to have a query run across terabytes of data and not have to sort or hash anything. It's entirely possible for that to happen, and for a query not to ask for a memory grant to do any of that work. So fun stuff, huh? It might not be a great query. It might be a very slow, terrible query, because at that point I'm picturing a query with lots of little nested loops joins, or maybe index supported merge joins where memory just isn't required to do any of that stuff. So yeah, it's totally possible. I find it a little suspicious that it's happening on terabytes of data, because usually when you get terabytes of data involved, SQL Server is pretty keen on doing some hash joins there. But who knows? If you have a query plan that you can share and that you have a question about, that would be a good question for dba.stackexchange.com. That'd be a wonderful place to ask a longer version of that, where perhaps you could provide some more detail and people could give you much more detailed answers. But I think in a nutshell, that should get you going in the right direction. Let's see here. TZH asks, I have got a handful of non-clustered indexes on the clustered index key with separate columns included to cover some repeat queries. It just seemed dirty. Yeah, I mean, you're between a rock and a hard place, right? It's either you got these wide tables, and if you don't index them, people are going to complain, and it's hard to index them. And if you over-index them, people are going to complain, and it all sucks. It all sucks. James says, how do I sign up to get the blogs you write sent to my email? I added both my personal and work email to the newsletter, but never seem to get any emails. I have checked junk mail and filters. I don't know what would be going wrong there. That email list seems to work because what do you call it? I see the email comes to me and I get bounce backs from everyone who's I get everyone's out of office reply because I'm an idiot and I don't know how to change that in MailChimp. And when I think about Googling it, I find something better to do. So but it's kind of nice to see it's working. It's like my way of knowing that I'm not just alone in my office for eternity. But yeah, I'm not sure if you send me an email, if you use the contact form on my site to send me an email, I can look at your email address and look in MailChimp and kind of see what's happening there. It's entirely possible that for some reason, I don't know, maybe you spelled your email address wrong, or maybe your whatever your email host is just hates stuff from MailChimp so badly that it doesn't even make it to spam, but just gets like immediately quarantined and junked. It's also entirely possible that I've been blacklisted again, because I don't know. It's happened before. I got an SSL certificate and I thought things were cool. And people are still like, we don't trust you. I'm like, I got a certificate. I paid GoDaddy like $125 for this damn certificate. How can I be untrustworthy? How? How? Tell me how that works. Very annoying. I don't know. Anyway. Forrest, my furry friend. Oh, by the way, I meant to say, if you sent me your address last week to get stickers mailed out to you, stickers were put in the mail this week, so you should be getting them eventually. I don't know when. Be honest with you, I wish I could predict and control the mail. Unfortunately, that is where my powers run out. Anyway, Forrest says or asks, do you ever find that knowing about memory management internals is helpful? It's helpful when I create very specific problems that deal with memory management. I would say that for the general public who have a pretty well-defined set of SQL Server issues, memory management is almost never the issue. The issue is that SQL Server is managing like 12 gigs of memory when it needs like 128 gigs of memory. So, it's good stuff to know. It's good like SQL Jeopardy stuff to know. There's a lot of good SQL Jeopardy stuff to know, but you got to keep that stuff like back here. The stuff you got to keep up here is way different. So yeah, it's good to know. It's nice to know about, but whether I've ever like walked into a customer site and been like, aha, I see you've got stolen pages. Let's solve that. Let's crack that caper. And it's been like some weird problem. It's never been a weird problem. It's always been like, well, you put like 500 gigs of memory inside SQL Server, but you forgot to raise max server memory from 64 gigs when you made the change, or like you've got a SQL server, you've got a VM host with like 8 SQL servers on it, and they're all just fighting over memory constantly, or just like stuff that's never been like SQL Service is bad at managing memory. It's always been like, oh no, there's a people problem. We have a big people problem here. So there's that. Kapil says, perfect, I got it. Yes, indeed. It's one heck of a crappy query. Too many inner joins with no sorting and a serial plan. Woo-wee. So, wow. Serial plan. So we have a serial plan with no sorting over terabytes. Is there a scalar valued function involved here, or a table variable involved here? Because there is something amok when we have a query that looks like that over that much data, and there's like no memory grant or sorting or anything. That something stinks about that. Something is stinky in there. Something is very, very stinky in there. Kapil follows up, are you planning to release some training videos? I learned a lot from you're available at Brent's query tuning classes. Yes, I am. So I'm in a weird position, and I wrote about my weird position a little bit in my 6 months of consulting on my own blog post, which will be out, I don't know, I think on the anniversary of me getting laid off. So it'll be out like June 3rd. Which is exactly 6 months from January 3rd, which is when I got beheaded, or when I had a fall from grace and became unfamous, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so it's been a tough mix of trying to write good training material. In other words, like from scratch. So it's like I do like, well, I will never ever be accused of being a perfectionist. I do like to provide high quality, or as high quality as I'm capable of material with the training. So I do try to have nice pictures and have things be laid out clearly and look nice. And the other thing is that I don't want to just repeat myself. So I wouldn't want to just like completely rehash training videos that I had recorded that are up on Brent's site. If I'm gonna do this thing, it's got to be me. So it's tough because now I have to sort of find new ways to say things or new ways to present things. So it is writing all the material from scratch, and it's been going a bit more slowly than I'd like, just because, I mean, and it's a great problem to have, because I have enough like consulting work coming in where it takes serious bites out of my time during the week, where I can't sit and dedicate it to writing the training. But it's getting written. I'm gonna take some of the material from the server tuning pre-con that I've been doing, and that's gonna be like worked into some of the more advanced material. A lot of the more advanced query tuning stuff is written. Right now, my outline is like beginner stuff, which I'm going to call starting SQL, and that's going to cover. That's going to like do like sort of like a jump right into like, this is what a query does. This is why it's fast, why it's slow. This is indexes. Then going deeper into what is an index, what's a weight, what's a query plan. So getting from beginner stuff, but not like, I think you're a dummy beginner stuff. Like, I'm gonna teach you the really important stuff about those things. Then after that, I'll probably do like a little bit of internals, not like a book of boring, like, this is a database page, this is a slot array type internals, like the stuff that I've found useful over the years. Then we'll do like hardware stuff, and then indexes, more advanced index stuff, and then more advanced execution plan stuff, and then query tuning. I'm also hoping to have a very special guest, maybe do some stuff on column store, but I can't say who or when. But that would be nice if that happened too. So yeah, that's my plan. And Josh, to answer your email, no, I don't have your address anymore. That was in my old email account that I don't have access to any longer. So if you want to send me your actual address, that would be. Actually, I didn't read enough of your email. What the hell? What is this? I don't even know what this is. Tastings? I'm not going to you. You're annoying me. Email is terrible. Email is the worst thing in the world. Darren says he's always found my classes very informative and entertaining. Thank you, Darren. I appreciate it. I'm glad someone does, because most of the time, whenever I'm talking to the camera, I'll leave my office and my wife is staring at me like there's something terribly wrong with me. I'm glad someone out there is entertained and informed. The things that I say in here. Otherwise, I don't know what I'd do. I don't know. If you were one or the other, I would be ecstatic. If you were informed or entertained by me, I would be thrilled. But the fact that you're both, wow, I don't even know what to say to that. Enjoy the stickers that I say to that. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't carry over well to a lot of crowds. I have a very specific set of people. I unfortunately narrowcast quite a bit with the way that I say things and put things. So, yeah, there's, and I'll tell you that's probably the hardest part about consulting is not like the consulting poker face, or like the business stuff, or the like the landing clients part. It's like the how can I say this to people who I've never met in a way where like I'm not gonna make everyone too angry. And I think like that's probably the hardest thing is, like I need to say things in a way that keep me interested and that entertain me, but then at the same time, like I know someone's not going to be happy with it. Like someone's going to be unhappy with it. Someone is going to be mad at me or think that I'm inappropriate or something. So whatever. It's a good time. You know what? If I had to pick a different way to make a living, I'm not sure what it would be. Actually, I can't. You know what I would do? I would open up a laundromat with a bar in it, and I would only have it open from like, I don't know, like 10 a.m. to like 8 p.m., maybe 9 p.m. because I don't want to have like an all night laundromat bar thing. I like, bad. Like that is like just washing machines full of pee. Would vomit would be the thing there. So I would open up a laundromat with a barn and have very limited hours, and I would just sit there and watch people do laundry. That's what I would do. Maybe friendly conversation. I'd be the bartender, I guess. I have a very limited drink menu because I'm not very good at mixing things. Beer, shot. The world doesn't have enough shot and beer bars. Everything's a mixology bar. Everything's gonna have muddled whatever in it, and shaved ice and rinds of things. Shot and a beer never did anyone wrong. Anyway, we're at about a half hour here, and oh boy, there's a question. Hang on. I just went through one of Joe's blogs regarding soft NUMA starting SQL Server 2016. Per your experience, have you turned that feature off due to performance issues as raised by Joe in that blog? You should leave a comment on Joe's blog post and ask him about it, because Joe is by far a much bigger expert on that NUMA stuff than I am. So leave a comment with your question, and and Joe will get back to you because he's contractually obligated to. Is my guest. No, I'm kidding. He's not. He might ignore you, but if he does, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't control Joe. I was at first. I was like, if I'm going to do this, I should say, okay, I'll schedule your post to go out, and then I really just let Joe off his leash, let Joe off his chain, and do his Joe thing. Be ridiculous trying to contain that man. Anyway, that's about a half hour. I'm going to get going and get back to work or whatever you want to call it. Thanks for joining me. And I will see you most likely next week unless something terrible happens. I'm kidding. Nothing. Unless I win the lottery, which would be wonderful. But if I win the lottery, I'm going to do this really drunk and tell you all what I actually think about you. Goodbye. Have a great long weekend if you are memorializing anything. Goodbye.